Hello, everybody. This is Michael Charles from leadingwithintent.com. I am so excited to be here with you today. Today is December 2nd, 2020. I couldn't be more excited to be here today as we kickstart our next season of the series iLive, Mastering the Essentials of Life, Money, and Relationships. And so today, as the first day, I have a treat for you in terms of who I have on today. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that you understand. Last season, we ran it. I was going solo for most of the time with a guest here and there. But this year, we're going to have a lot more guests coming on to share some tips and some great life advice and ways that you can be intentional in living your life and making something or making a difference in your life. And so the goal is to host these sessions once every week at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you live in any other time zone, just remember that it's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And as I said, this is I Live, Mastering the Essentials of Life, Money, and Relationships. This month, the month of December, I believe it's fitting that we start this new series with the topic around relationships. And as my first guest, we'll be sharing some tips with you on how to develop and nurture relationships. I just want to make sure that you understand this is the time where we should invest more in our relationships as individuals and living through these unprecedented times with COVID and having to social distance, which is a term I don't quite like, but the term we should be using is really physical distancing, because you can be physically distant, but not socially distant. So I'd like to share with you my guest, my friend, my brother from the BOC, and as we said, the topic he's going to share some thoughts and some great ideas with you today is developing and nurturing meaningful relationships. So my guest today is Nick Zizi from Florida, and he has written books, and he is also the CEO of Nick Zizi Enterprises. He has a podcast out, so I'm looking forward to hearing him maybe share some things about that and maybe let you know how you can go ahead and listen to it. He's the best-selling author of two books. He's also a keynote speaker, and of course, the student success expert. He's all about his blueprint to success. So I can't wait to hear him today. He's going to share some great tips with us. And so, without further ado, so Nick, welcome to the series I Live, Mastering the Essentials of Life, Money, and Relationships. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here, Michael. Thank you for having me. Super excited to speak to your audience and also to just have a great time tonight and learning more about how to develop meaningful relationships.
Yeah, it is such an important thing when it comes to uh, mainly the time that we live in now, right? As I said earlier, we're living in a time where we are being encouraged to social distance. And as I said, I don't really like that term because that's a lot of people
Yeah.
feel lonely in this time, and they don't
hmm
feel they have that touch, that human touch is missing. And a lot of people are lonely, and some even have thoughts of suicide. So I just thought this is the time to start talking about this.
Very important. It is super important to talk about it because many people, as you stated, they feel alone. They feel like, well, no one's coming to see me. It's not that no one it doesn't want to come, is that we just can't come because
Yeah.
of CDC regulations there. But there are so many ways, as you stated earlier, on how we can connect with people without being there physically or doing it in a social distance way. So I think it's very important. And with that, I do want to jump right in and share a few things, a few points I think that would be of benefit to the audience.
Sure, sure. Why don't you go ahead and start sharing some thoughts? But if you would tell them about you first, because I know you've got a lot of things going on, Nick. Don't be humble here. We want to hear from you. You've done some great things, and I follow you on social media, and every once in a while we talk. So why don't you share a little bit about your background and some of your Z-rated success tips that you've been sharing with students all across the nation?
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for the opportunity. I am a two-time best-selling author. I'm also a TED speaker, and I've spoken across the nation at various organizations, major conferences, schools, and have helped educators and students and organizations to find their Z-print for success. So I'm all about helping people stand out and not fit in. And that's where the whole zebra comes in, because no two zebras have the same stripes, just like no two humans have the same fingerprints, just like no two humans have the same exact strengths and gifts. So it's super important that we all find our voices, that we all can stand in our place, in our lane, and live our best life. And one other thing too that I've noticed growing up was that many people, even adults, we feel more comfortable conforming instead of standing out, instead of being ourselves. And you can see that with social proof. We look at a product and we say, well, you know what, I want to get that product because all of my friends have it, or because a lot of people said that it's a great product. Although that's a good thing in one way, but when you live your life that way, when you say, well, you know what, I'm not pursuing my dreams because not that many people are doing it, or not that many people are encouraging me to do it. So then again, we're conforming and we're limiting our greatness. In fact, I usually say this: imitation is limitation. Imitation is limitation. So when you are imitating, when you are following, you're not living your best life. You're just an echo. You're just
Mm.
someone else's shadow. But I believe that God created every one of us to be originals, to be ourselves, and to live our best life. So that's what the whole zebra message is all about. And I have a podcast where we speak to educators and people who work with young people. It's called Z-Rated Success. You can find out more information about it on zratedsuccess.com.
That's awesome. I mean, I love it, right? When you imitate, you can never become the full version of you that you must become, because you're always a copy of something else. And the copy is never as good as the original, right?
That's right.
Never. So it is so interesting, and I love that you sharing these tips with students. And I have a passion for helping young people too. So I love it. I love seeing what you do and the way you do what you do. So how about we dive straight into our topic of the day, right? I'm lonely.
Awesome.
This is COVID. What do I do? I mean, or maybe professionally, a lot of us are working from home. How do I deal
Yes.
with that? How do I develop and nurture relationships while I work from home?
That's awesome. So let's dive right into it. In fact, I'll start with a story. And as I share my story, I'll share a little bit more about my background. I am a husband and a father of 5 little kids. So both my wife and we work together, and she's also working at her business, and I'm working at my business, and we also work 1 or 2 times a week together in my business. So there's a lot going on, and it can be very challenging. And I remember early on when I was writing my books, and I was spending a lot of time at work. I was just putting in a lot of hours at work, a lot of hours writing the book, researching. And then my wife came in my office at home, and she said, babe, while you're writing your bestseller, make sure your children are bestsellers
Mm,
too. I'm like,
ouch. Whoa.
I said,
Whew, that's sting, I'm
what?
sure.
I said, what are you saying? I mean, I'm doing all
Mm,
of this for you. I'm doing all of this for the family. And so that was like, it would seem as if she just threw a cold glass of water to my face.
oh,
And I thought about it. I really did. I thought about it, and I thought about how I was spending my time, what I was doing. because as professionals we can get caught up with the busyness of work, with the busyness
Yeah,
of running a business, and it's hard. It's hard when you know that you're doing all that you're doing to support your family, to create a type of lifestyle, a type of certain type of lifestyle that you want to create for your family. So for me, that was a really it just really just shook me, and it caused me to think about how I was spending my time and what I was doing. So that was about 3 years ago when I wrote the first version of Succeed Like a Zebra.
mm,
And then I began to look at my schedule and get things together. Now, fast forward to COVID-19 this year. This year, it's been different because we have a lot more time. We're spending a whole lot more time at home. We're spending, and you know what? I have a greater appreciation for teachers. I have a greater appreciation for people who work with young people,
absolutely.
because having your kids at home for what, 8 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours, it's tough. It's hard. But there's been good and bad during this period of time. And during this period of time, I've learned to appreciate my wife more. I've learned to appreciate my children more. Now,
Mm,
with all of this, where does this all tie in? Well, I've learned to refocus my attention on what really matters. And I think in order for us to develop and nurture relationships, we have to first start at home, right?
absolutely.
We have to first start at home, and making time for the family during this time is super important. So we eat every day. We eat dinner together every day, which we weren't doing before. We also make sure that we are intentional about setting devotional times with the family almost every day, nearly every day, and we try to get that going, try to get that moving forward. And that has helped us during this period of time of COVID-19, kids not being able to go out as much, kids being home, not being able to go to school for a period of time, and not being able to go to church to see their friends and the other people at the church. So it's been a very challenging time, and we're still going through this. But I believe the key to helping us through all of this is, number one, we have to make time. We've got to make time. And guess what? We have time, right? COVID-19 has forced us to slow down. I've had engagements lined up. I had several appointments booked for several months. And because of COVID-19 in March, when everything started to shut down, everything shut down as far as my business, with the traveling that I had to do. So then I had to refocus and think about, okay, what am I doing and how can I do it better to stay connected with my family and moving forward with others, the other people in my life on a professional level, and as well as my friends and my other family members. So
Awesome.
so with Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, this is awesome. I mean, as much as COVID, takes us away from some of the relationships we have outside the home, but it also allows us to focus now on the people that we probably have been neglecting the most, which
Yes.
you know, which are the children, the wives, the husbands, because we wake up, we dash out of the house, and we don't come
Yes.
back until late. And when we come back, for some of us, those of us who actually burn the candles at both ends, we end up doing so much at the end of the day. By the time the day is over, we almost have no time for family. So COVID allows us to do that. So that's great. So I'm glad that that also was something that helped you spend more time with your family.
Oh, absolutely. And one other thing too that's important I want to mention here is that the question that we all have to ask ourselves is, what's our goal? Like, what's the goal? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
Right? For me, I'm striving to be as successful as I can in what I do. But what's the goal? What's the purpose? Why? What's the why? Right? So for me, I want to get to the summit. I want to get to the top of my field and what I'm doing to be as successful as I can be. I want to do it with my family. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, my family is involved in it. And I think that's where we all have to really think about this during this whole period of time. If you think about it, relationships are so important. Relationships are so important. You can lose money, you can lose time, but when you lose a loved one, when you
Mm,
lose a friend, there's nothing whatsoever that can replace that friend, that can replace that loved one. So that's why this conversation is so important. And we've got to refocus, reprioritize, and make sure that our relationship, starting with our family, needs to
yeah,
be number one. And then the other folks in our lives have to be in those positions in our lives where they are a priority and not something that we say, well, I'll get to that person later. In fact, I've gone to several funerals
mm,
and I've had to officiate. Perhaps that may be the term. It's not coming to my mind right now, but I had to officiate on in my father's stead. He wasn't able to make it. So I've had to go in and utilize. I mispronounced the word again here, but I had to
that's all right.
preach the funeral. I had to preach the funeral. And then as I'm preaching and preparing for these funerals, I'm thinking about the person. Like there's nothing that can replace that person. You can
No,
give the person
no,
$1 million. Nothing can replace that person. And then all of us, when someone passes away, we all think about the times we wanted to, we thought about
but
calling, we
didn't.
thought about, but we didn't do it.
Yeah,
We didn't do it.
yeah,
So this is important, and we've got to make this a priority.
yeah,
Now, the question is, how do we do it, right? How do
yeah,
we do it? Well, the way you do it is you've got to be intentional about it and make a list. Make a list of the people that you want to reach out to, and you say every day I want to reach out to at least 5 people. At least 5 people. A phone call, a text message, an email, or a visit, but whatever you can, just try to see if you can reach out to 5 people every day. It doesn't take much time. You can leave a voicemail message. You can just record a video message, a 30-second video message, and you send it as a text. And you say, hey, I was just thinking about you today. I hope all is well with you. These
and
little things, these little
yeah,
things can make a tremendous difference.
I was gonna say one of the thing I try to do in terms of list, but also sometimes depending on what I'm doing, if a name
Hmm.
pops up in my head, I pick up my phone and call that person
Yes.
because the name
Yes.
pops up in your head for a reason. And usually when I do, the person say, "Oh my gosh, I was going through this, this thing, and you call me, just put me in a different mood." And you just don't
Mhm.
know what could happen by just making that phone call. And by, just again, making a list is critical. And if the name
Yes.
pops up in your head, even if that person wasn't on your list, make the phone call.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and as Michael, as you just stated there, that once the name pops up in your head, you just send a text message or you make the phone call. And usually I'll do that. I'll text. I'll say, hey, you were on my mind. You were just on my mind. I hope all is well with you. And that makes
Yeah.
a difference. That lets people know that you care. That lets people know that you're thinking about them. And who doesn't want someone to care? Who doesn't want someone to be thinking about them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. All right. So you want to
Yes.
go into some more tips for our viewers here?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about. So we kind of looked at the family aspect of this, but let's talk about professional professional relationships. How do you develop or cultivate or nurture your professional relationships? Well, you want to be top of mind. You want to let your people know, your clients, your colleagues know that you care about them. And one of the ways is to reach out. Is to reach out whenever the person comes to mind. You reach out to that person, see how they're doing. Another way is to once a month you can send a note or an email adding value. And I think that's something that's important. You want to add value to the people in your life. Relationships, a relationship that has no value that's being added to it is a relationship that will wither away. Think about it. A relationship that has no value that's being added to it will wither away. So as I'm adding value to the relationship, as I am watering the relationship, then it will flourish, it will grow. So add value every month. Send one piece of content to your clients, to your friends that you feel that would be of benefit, of added value to them in what they're doing. The third thing that you can do is, I would say, always try to figure out what problem to solve, right? As a When you're in a relationship, you want to know, okay, what problem am I solving? Like, what do I bring to this relationship? I don't believe relationships should be one way. And I don't think anyone likes a one-way relationship. Everyone likes two-way relationships, right? So I
Absolutely.
want to know, what am I adding to this? What am I bringing to this relationship? So think about, what is it that you're bringing to the relationship, how you're adding value, and then do that on a regular basis. And then if you feel that you are in a relationship where it's a one-way relationship, and this also applies to the professional piece as well as the family piece, is you let people know. You want to teach people how to treat you. If you're taking notes, please do add this to your notes. Teach people how to treat you. If you feel that someone's wasting your time, let them know. I'm at work. I have customers
Absolutely.
who stop by. They'll just drop by my office and say, "Hey, Nick, I was just in the area. Just wanted to say what's up." And they'll just sit down and, "Hey, I'm at work. I have work to do here." You can stop by and say hi, but just understand, this is a business,
Yeah,
and every minute counts. Every hour is important. So teach people how to treat you by letting them know um, that they ought to value your time and what you expect from the relationship. And so those are some of the tips that come to mind.
awesome. And this is so important, as you were talking through this, it reminds me of something that happened this summer. In our yard, my wife and I, we plant trees in the spring, and we sort of see how some, not trees, I'm sorry, flowers, and we sort of see how some of them grow and flourish, and some of the other ones, they just wither away and die. And we were just walking on and saying, you see, these flowers, they get a good amount of shade and sunlight. And these, they have a bunch of sunlight and they can survive. And it's interesting, the same two things that you need for a relationship, you just need to understand what the correct balance is in order for that relationship to grow and thrive. And it's just something that reminds me, as you spoke about this, adding value and figuring out, what problems to solve, to help them solve, and
Mhm.
also teaching them how to treat you, right? Because again, the environment you create around you will either help you grow or bring you down as a professional. So, so, so
Absolutely.
interesting. All right. So,
Absolutely.
what about people now who are working remotely? What tips do you have for them as they work remote and they do not have this in-person interaction and they don't really have a lot of people calling them day in and day out because they're not in the office anymore. People don't just stop by or see them, and so they sort of don't. They are not top of mind, but they're there. How do they grow a relationship and stay front and center and I'm sorry, front and center and stay relevant in the office while they still develop that relationships with their fellow professionals,
Great. So we're speaking about fellow professionals as well as their customers, or just the fellow professionals?
fellow professionals, because they're working
Okay.
from home, right? Then they don't
Mhm.
have that FaceTime as they used to have when
Mhm.
COVID wasn't there.
Awesome. So great question. Great question. I would say hop on a Zoom call, right? Hop on a Zoom call. So if you have your other professional friends, your colleagues, you can set up a time, a happy hour, and you all just jump on a Zoom call and say, for 30 minutes, let's just talk.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about how things are going. I think that would be beneficial. Another tip would be look for virtual. There are many virtual conferences and seminars that you can attend, and you can reach out to your other professional friends and say, hey, let's all go to this event that's taking place here. We don't have to leave home. We can stay at our office or at home, and we
Yeah,
attend the event together. And then after the event, let's talk about what we've learned from the event.
awesome.
Those are some of the ways that we can connect during this time.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's a challenge just doing it remote. So figuring out ways to stay connected and have
Yeah.
something to talk and come together around is so important. So, all right, great. So now, as we come towards the end of these sessions, if, for instance, you know, we have these relationships that we'd like to keep nurturing. They're not professional relationships, they are personal relationships. But we feel down and alone because we're home. And some of us don't have the courage of feel that this is something they can do right now. What would you say to those people who are in a situation where they feel down? Uh, the very thing that could actually help them up, they are failing to do that by reaching out to some.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. All right.
I can hear you now.
Awesome. But
Right.
did you hear part of the question?
A part of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Can you repeat
what
it for
what
me?
what would you say to those who are home, feel down, feel alone, and some of them may even have suicidal thoughts that they failed to do the very thing that could actually help them out of this mindset that they're in by reaching out to their friends and their family members to actually help them help their spirits up. What would you tell those people?
I would tell them to reach out. I mean, as hard as it may be, reach out. Some people, it can be many other reasons why they're not reaching out. They may feel like, well, I don't want people to think I have a problem. I don't want people to think I'm asking for help or I need money or this. You see, ego is edging God out, right? It's edging God out. When someone has ego, you got to put your ego aside, your pride aside, and just reach
Yeah.
out. Reach out. And I have a saying I tell people all the time at my different conferences. I'll say, asking for help doesn't make you weak. It helps you to remain strong. So
Absolutely.
when you're reaching out, you just reach out to people. Just say, "Hey, what's up? I was thinking about you. I hope all is well." And as you're conversing and you're finding out how people are doing, then you're going to feel better about yourself. And here's one other quick tip here: why not be the one encouraging people? Why not be the encourager when you're depressed? I mean, that's one of the surefire ways of boosting your confidence, boosting your energy is by
Hmm.
simply calling people to motivate them, to encourage. Hey, you know what? I was just thinking about you. You know, I hope all is well. And you encourage that person. You tell them what you would want them to tell you. I
Yeah.
promise you, at the end of that conversation, at the end of that phone call, you're going to feel so good that you're going to want to call 100 other people.
Yeah, no,
So just
it's so good. That is so good. It's important. And I think you were gonna say finish and add some more thoughts to that. Go ahead.
yes, it's super important that we do that, right? The golden rule, right? Just do unto others the way that you would like them to do to you. You know, whatever you would want someone to do for you at this time, right? Some of you may feel like no one's calling me, no one's texting me, no one's checking on me. Then there's
Check on
two.
somebody.
Right, I know you could stay like this the whole time. Imagine for another 3 months, you're saying nobody called me, nobody.
Yeah.
But why not take that first step and call them? They're probably thinking the same thing
Just
too. They're probably saying,
yeah.
"Why you didn't call me? You didn't call me. I was waiting for you to call
You-
me." Right.
and then we just never
So
call, and you just and that relationship just died for some reason. Yeah. That is
that's
so
right.
key. That is so key. And it's interesting how when we start helping people, we take the focus off of our problems and help other people, the very problem that we had starts to work itself out. It's just
That's
so
right.
interesting. So I really appreciate you sharing that tip with our viewers today. So I know we're coming towards the end of today's video. So what any last tip you want to share? Any last resource maybe you may have or know of that you want to share with folks who wants to develop relationships and grow and at least learn some further tips?
Awesome. Thank you again for having me. Um, what I'd like to just end with, and back to what we were saying earlier, I know it's a tough time. It really is. It's a really challenging time. And I don't think we've ever gone through anything like this at all before.
No. Yeah.
And many people right now, they're depressed. They've lost loved ones. They don't know what to do. Some are out of a job. Some just, they don't know what's going to happen. Right. So I would say if no one is calling you, no one's reaching out, or perhaps you're not getting as many people calling you, be that person and say, you know what, I'm going to be the person that I want others to be to me, for me.
Mm,
I want to show up for others the way that I would want them to show up for me.
yeah.
Forget about the fact that they didn't call you, that they didn't check on you or whatever. Just do it. Do it. And it may not come back from that person, right? It may not come back from that person. But once you sow it, once you plant it, it'll
Yeah.
come back from someone else. So I just want to encourage you to do that, because I know it's tough. I know it's challenging, but be the person who is going to be a light, be the encourager. Call, text, check on people, visit people if you can, and see how they're doing. Don't wait for them to take the first step. You take the first step, take the second step, take the third step, and eventually you'll make an impact in that person's life that they'll never forget. So be that change agent. You've got what it takes. Now,
Awesome.
as far as a resource, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
you can check out zratedsuccess.com. That's the podcast. And you can also visit nickzizi.com, where I have a lot more resources there. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome, Nick, and I really appreciate you coming on to share with our viewers and listeners today. And as you ended, be the light, right? Be the light that you want to see in the world. Don't wait for somebody else to do that. You be that light and bring, shine bright for those around you who may be going through darkness at this time. This is a hard time for a lot of people. So once again, thank you for bringing the light here today, Nick. I really appreciate you and your family and all you've done. And again, make sure you check out Nick at nickzizi.com. I believe that's right. That's what it is. Check him
Yeah.
out. Check him out and check out his podcast. He's got some great guests also on his podcast. So and then I'm sure make sure you comment and give him some thumbs up or some likes, so the podcast could just go up and up and up in ratings. So I'd appreciate that also if you support him in that way. Once again, thank you everybody for joining me here today. It's been a pleasure to have you in this first installment of the new season of iLive, Mastering the Essentials of Life, Money, and Relationships. Next week, we have another session on relationship, and this is going to be relationships when it comes to marital relationships, husband and wife. So stay tuned, and we'll be sharing some more details over the next few days. And it's going to be right here on the same channel as you're watching us. Once again, Nick, thank you for coming on. Take care.
Thank
We'll
you for
talk
having
soon.
me.
All right, take care. And for everybody, be sure to check us out on Facebook at Lead with Intent, and Twitter at Michael Charles underscore, and Instagram, Michael Charles underscore I coach. And of course, if you're watching this right now, you are on I Live Life on Purpose, the YouTube channel where this series is being aired. So thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, be the light and honor your fire. Take care, everybody. Bye.